His personal trainer sent him a text message that said, "Comply or I will have you institutionalized again, medicated until you can't think straight, and you will never see your children the same way again." That text exists. Kanye screenshotted it and posted it publicly. The trainer's name is Harley Pasternak. He has never denied sending it. Nobody talked about it. The media buried it in 2 days, and Kanye was called crazy again. This is not a video about a rapper losing his mind. This is a video about what happens when one of the most powerful artists in history tries to tell the world something and the people around him decide he needs to be stopped. Pay attention, because this story is darker than anything they told you.
Let's start at the beginning. Not the beginning they gave you, the real one. In 2016, Kanye West was at the peak of everything. Billionaire status, Grammy legend, the most influential artist on the planet. His St. Pablo tour was selling out arenas across America. And then, in November of that year, something shifted. On stage in Sacramento, California, Kanye stopped the show. He turned to the crowd and started talking, not rapping, talking. He called out Jay-Z, he called out Beyonce, he called out the media. He told the audience that Google lied to them, Facebook lied to them, radio lied to them. He said he had wanted to say certain things before the election, but, and this is his exact words, "They told me, whatever you do, don't say that out loud." He was pointing at a system. He was naming the mechanism of control directly. And 3 days later, he was in a psychiatric ward. The official story: exhaustion, sleep deprivation, a breakdown. His doctor said it was temporary psychosis. Case closed. But here is what the official story leaves out. Kanye was taken to the hospital from the home of his personal trainer, Harley Pasternak. It was Pasternak who called emergency services. It was Pasternak who was described as having strongly convinced Kanye to go to the hospital. And it was Pasternak who, 6 years later, sent Kanye a text message threatening to do it again. That text, posted publicly by Kanye in 2022, said this: "First option, you and I sit down and have a loving conversation. Second option, I have you institutionalized again where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to Zombieland forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same." Read that again, slowly. A man who is not a doctor, not a family member, not a legal guardian, a personal trainer was threatening to have one of the most famous men in the world forcibly committed and medicated into submission. And he referenced doing it again, meaning he believed he had the power to do it before, and he was confident he could do it again. Kanye's response when he posted those texts was, "I was mentally misdiagnosed and nearly drugged out of my mind to make me a manageable, well-behaved celebrity. Not crazy, managed."
Now let's talk about what Kanye actually said before every breakdown, before every hospitalization, before every deplatforming, because nobody ever puts the timeline in order. Before the 2016 hospitalization, Kanye publicly said the music industry was run like a plantation. He said artists signed deals that stripped them of ownership over their own work. He said the people at the top of the industry make billions, while the artists who created everything fight over scraps. He said he was $53 million in personal debt, despite being one of the most commercially successful artists alive, because the system was designed to keep him that way. He also said something else that got very little attention. He believed he was being surveilled, that he felt people around him were feeding information to people above them, that the closer you got to the top, the more controlled the environment became. Everyone laughed. Paranoid rapper, crazy Kanye. Then in 2018, he went on a public run of interviews where he said the music industry signs artists the way slave owners managed enslaved people. He said labels own masters, the actual recordings, so artists spend their lives generating wealth they will never see. He said the system is designed so that no matter how successful you become, you stay in debt to the machine. He said this on mainstream television, and the response from the industry was silence, followed by a slow, coordinated removal of his platform every time he escalated. Now we get to 2022, the year they finally finished the job. Kanye showed up to Paris Fashion Week wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. He made anti-Semitic comments in interviews and on social media, and what followed was the fastest, most coordinated corporate destruction of a single individual in entertainment history. Within days, not weeks, days, Adidas dropped him, Gap dropped him, Balenciaga dropped him, CAA dropped him, his documentary was canceled, his bank account was frozen, his social media platforms were restricted, and Ari Emanuel, the most powerful man in Hollywood talent representation, went on record publicly urging every company in America to cut ties with him simultaneously. He lost $2 billion in a single day. His net worth collapsed from $3 billion to $400 million overnight. Now, the anti-Semitic comments were real. They were wrong. Nobody is defending them here. But ask yourself a different question. Why was the response so fast, so total, and so perfectly coordinated? Every major company moved within the same 72-hour window. Not one held out. Not one said, "Let's wait and see." The machine moved like it had been waiting for a reason. Kanye himself said, "I was told that if I expose the truth of the bad business practices, everything is going to be taken from me, including my children." He said that publicly before the 2022 collapse, and then everything was taken from him. There is something else that nobody connects. Kanye's 2016 hospitalization happened at the home of Harley Pasternak, a man whose client list reads like a who's who of the entertainment industry. Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Kim Kardashian, Ariana Grande, Katy Perry, Adam Levine, Robert Downey Jr. A man positioned at the center of almost every major celebrity relationship in Hollywood. Pasternak is not just a trainer. Before his entertainment career, he worked as an exercise and nutrition scientist for Canada's Department of National Defense. That detail sits in his own biography, not hidden, just never discussed in context. When Kanye posted the text, he added one line that most people missed. He said, "This is how a Hollywood trainer speaks to a far more influential black celebrity when we get out of line." Out of line. Not crazy, not dangerous. Out of line. Here is what the full picture looks like when you zoom out. Kanye spends years publicly attacking the power structure of the music industry. He names specific mechanisms: label ownership, media control, financial exploitation of artists. He says he is being watched and managed. He says he was told to stay quiet. Every time he escalates, he gets hospitalized, deplatformed, or financially destroyed. The hospitalization in 2016 came days after his most pointed public statements. The 2022 destruction came immediately after he started publicly naming people and entities he claimed were controlling him. His ex-wife's family, one of the most powerful PR and media operations in America, exits his life at exactly the moment his public statements become most dangerous to the people around him. The divorce is finalized. His access to his children becomes a legal and logistical weapon held over his head. And his trainer texts him to confirm, "Your children's lives are part of the leverage." None of this proves a conspiracy. What it proves is a pattern. A man who kept trying to say something, and a system that kept finding new ways to make sure he couldn't.
The last thing worth saying is this. Kanye once said he thought he would have ended up like Michael Jackson if he had kept taking the medication they prescribed. Michael Jackson spent the last years of his life controlled by a personal doctor, dependent on drugs administered by someone employed by the people around him, isolated from the outside world, and died from a drug overdose administered by that doctor, who was convicted of manslaughter. Kanye said, out loud, publicly, "I believe that would have been me." Nobody asked him what he meant. Nobody followed up. Nobody investigated the claim. They called him crazy. They took his money. They medicated him. They used his children as leverage. And now he is quiet. Think about what it took to make Kanye West quiet, and then ask yourself who benefited from the silence. If you think this story goes deeper, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell me in the comments, do you think Kanye was controlled, or do you think he lost his mind? Because the answer to that question tells you everything about how much you trust the system that told you which one it was.